All right, so who am I talking to today?
Hi, my name is Pacho Velez.
And?
Courtney Stephens.
All right, and you're here with the American sector.
Yes, yeah, we're co-directors of the American sector.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that. Well, why should people check out the American sector when they get a chance?
Well, our film is telling the story of the Berlin Wall as it exists in fragments as public monuments across the United States, and is speaking to questions of history, how we remember history, how the present becomes the past, and also how public commemoration functions to incite new and personal channels of history among the people who encounter it.
So it's a fractured road trip across the country to visit panels of the Berlin Wall at many different, unexpected, curious locations across the United States.
And it's very appropriate that this movie is here in Berlin. What's that like?
It always was our dream to premiere here, so we're thrilled to share it with German audiences, which is of course it's keeps us on our feet because we are this film is truly about America and American remembrance of the Cold War, but here of course that abstraction is made suddenly quite real, and so we're it's exciting, and
it's our first time showing it to people who really lived behind the Berlin Wall. People who, our first time showing it to East Germans, people who were raised in East Germany, and
West German. Just also, Germans who understand it as for many people part of their lived experience and not an idea in the historical record.
Okay, so why did you guys shoot this on film? Why was that important for you guys?
Film is beautiful. It's alive. When you're shooting something like a piece of concrete, you need every advantage you can get. It's not naturally cinematic. And film, with the grain, with the slight stutter, and with the colors, it brings an energy to images, especially landscapes, that felt really key for this film. It's also the technology of the Cold War. Many of the archives are footage in 16 millimeter of the wall going up, of the
True, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think also our film is about people. We talk to many different people, but ultimately the film is about an object. It's about material and how kind of material culture and residue proliferates around the world, and people identify with objects so much more than just is in this physical barrier, right? And so celluloid film is a material object. It isn't digital in the way that has no true materiality, and we were interested in that material coming through in the space of the film.
Very cool. Okay, so what does the Berlin Wall represent to both of you? What does it mean?
It's a kind of, it's for us, having talked to so many people about the Berlin Wall at this point, it's very hard for us to say it's one thing.
Okay.
So what I would say is that if I had to say it was one thing, it would be that it's a kind of mirror onto which people project their own thoughts and ideas and feelings and memories from their own lives, sort of half-remembered historical moments, funny trips that they took as kids to visit the wall, whatever their personal associations are. It becomes this sort of space for projecting those thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? Anything else, or?
Well, we began to think of it. There's a lot of discussion in America in the last few years about Confederate monuments and what to do with monuments that honor things that we would not like to honor anymore, or we might have, or there are complicated feelings around, and so whether to tear them down, so I think it forced us to think of the wall in some regard as a statue. And so what is it a statue of or to? It's a sort of uncarved, it's an anti-statue in a certain kind of way. And so in this way, it's kind of, its refusal to be any one thing makes it open to many different types of storytelling.
Oh, okay. So I would transition. It's going to get a little intense now. Is there any comparison between the Berlin Wall and like Trump's proposed wall with Mexico? Do you see any similarities there?
That certainly was something we were thinking about a lot during the making of this film, and I think it comes out maybe as in the film we don't push that so directly in your face, but
Sure.
it is definitely a kind of. It is a consistent and lurking quantity in the film.
And we also saw a strong irony in certain political positions. People who were so happy that the Berlin Wall fell and are so happy that Trump is putting up a wall. That seemed...
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many Americans have a piece of the Berlin Wall?
As private collectors?
Yeah.
Well, so the total number of sites that we found across the United States is around 70, but that includes museums and institutions. I think for private collectors, that maybe 5 to 10, but those are harder to actually to track because sometimes they're in someone's backyard and we didn't know about them, so we actually just heard about a new one last week that we didn't know about while we were filming. Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of small pieces, probably tens of millions of Americans have little chunks. They were given out as Christmas presents in 1990, 1991. We found a grocery chain in the Midwest that if you bought $50 worth of groceries, they would give you a piece of the Berlin Wall.
That's funny.
Yeah. and so it was extremely popular.
And in fact, while we've been making this film, we tell people what it's about. And before we tell them that we're working on these large sections that are, they weigh 3 tons, people say, "Oh yeah, I have one of those in my drawer," or "Oh, my uncle has one." And we say, "Well, yeah."
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, a friend of mine had a piece of the Berlin Wall. Yeah. So that was kind of fun. So it's a little bit in Canada too. So okay, so it's about to get real again. So the Berlin Wall obviously is separating the East and the West. And in the States right now, some people at least are they're going crazy about the Baltic states.
Sure.
And I was wondering, do Americans need to kind of at least separate the Russian government from the Russian people? Can't we all be friends here? Why the Russophobia?
Sure. Well, Courtney's dating a Russian, so
there we go.
My Russian boyfriend says that Russophobia is the only, it's a kind of oppression or bias in America that people feel absolutely no shame about in terms of kind of open, kind of discriminatory position. But yes, I think with any. There's a big question, even in bringing this film to Berlin, about the dangers of abstraction and the dangers of abstracting individual people onto their government and onto sort of like a sort of singularity. And so, sure, I think, for both of us, just our personal politics would,
Not include hating Russian people.
Well, I think that individuals are not their governments, and that is a sort of, very key, very simple, but also kind of profound realization when you've grown up in a country that, one thing about America is it is across an ocean from Europe and Russia, and these histories that took place between, smaller nations. There's a far-awayness to the American position and a distance, and with that distance, I think can come a lot of danger of the reduction of foreign politics to.
And I don't mean to infer things, because obviously there's tons of people in America, very educated population.
Sure.
But there's a vocal class that is very maybe you get a little carried away with the language. But anyways, enough about that. So, can you guys tell me about your previous work? What have you done before this?
So my last film was a film called The Regan Show, and it was about the sort of public relations theatrics around the Cold War summits between Gorbachev and Reagan. And looking at those events from the point of view of PR and sort of political theater. Yeah, and it it was broadcast on CNN 3 years ago.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so this film, and obviously the interest in the Cold War.
It's your thing.
Yeah, a little bit. Cold War history.
My films, so I have worked previously in experimental film and made a number of films that deal with language and how people narrate environments, geographies, landscapes that don't necessarily speak for themselves, but which are many stories are projected into.
Very cool. This is your first time collaborating together, I guess?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it went well? Would you do it again?
We survived it.
We survived. Sometimes we want to kill each other, and sometimes I think we're very grateful to each other for the very different things that we brought to the film.
Some days we thrive, others we survive.
I would say with a topic like this, it was so valuable to have somebody to dialogue with, because there was truly a lot of complexity to what we were encountering, and we had these experiences together. I mean, it's a film, but it's also a document of a set of experiences that we had and people we met, and things that moved us and things that were very confusing to us, and so to sort of go through them, get on the road, drive 300 miles, process, we had this experience together, and that was really valuable. Yeah.
That's nice. Do you guys enjoy film festivals?
So far, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always this film. The first time you show a film to the public, it's so hard to know what it's going to mean to other people. We've been locked in a little room, for 3 years, making the film, showing it to our friends or people who are sympathetic to us,
Sure.
and they're giving us notes. And suddenly you're thrown into a room. Last night we were in a room with 800 people. Coming from all walks of life.
Sure.
We have no idea who they are, what brought them to the film. And then we're taking their time for an hour and a half. And, hoping that when the lights come up, they had a good experience, a learning experience. But we have no idea. We have no clue. And so that's the stress of the film festival, especially the first ones, the world premiere.
And it really was, I mean, showing this film in Germany is a completely different experience than what we anticipate it's going to be like showing it in America. So, we came with a lot of question marks about, what kind of questions we would get and how people would experience this displacement of the subject matter. And so,
Do you guys dig the city?
yeah, we haven't seen much of it. In fact, we've been doing some press, and as part of the press, they've taken us around to see the wall. So actually, most of what we've seen has been the wall.
They took us to the East Side Gallery, and
Oh, that's cool.
to do interviews.
Okay, well, guys, thanks so much for your time.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
let you go.
Appreciate it.
But before I let you go, can you guys tease what you got planned for the future?
I'm actually working on something that deals with the use of animals during the Cold War for intelligence gathering.
Oh, my God. That sounds really cool.
And Pacho's working on something about Tinder.
Online dating in New York City.
Oh, God. Oh, well.
It's its own kind of Cold War.
Well, good luck with that one.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.